Hey guys, Joe here at ECRM's CBD Health and Beauty Care session in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm with Blake from Markethub. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
So Blake's been coming to our sessions pretty much since day one, the first CBD symposium we did last year. And what I wanted to get into today is a conversation about merchandising. But first, can you give a brief overview about Markethub and what you guys do, what you guys offer?
Yeah, so we deal only in CBD and hemp-derived products. So we do sales, marketing, and distribution of the CBD category to retailers. Okay. So we're both helping the brands and the retailers kind of apprehend the category from start to finish. So we consider ourselves a resource first. Dig in, find out what they can, should, and could do, then help them with product assortment, making good decisions through our vetted products. We vet them on corporate structure, sourcing, manufacturing, labeling, and then help them out with actually distribution. So we do direct store delivery.
Oh, so everything from soup to nuts, pretty much.
Everything from soup to nuts. We are the one-stop shop.
Cool. So now what we've seen, obviously in the first symposium we did last year, people were just starting to look into it, but that all changed. Everyone was saying, we're waiting for the big guys to get involved. Well, then the big guys got involved. So now everybody's starting to actively source products. So now the next problem is merchandising.
Yeah.
How do they do it? So what are you seeing out there that retailers are starting to do? What do you recommend? Well, we'll start with what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first ECRM that we were a part of, I sat on the panel and my kind of charge to retail was to get it right. That means a lot in terms of not just choosing products, but where you merchandise it, how you merchandise it. And what we're seeing now as far as best practices is what we call category compartmentalization. So if you think about it like gluten-free 8 years ago, there was a section. And so now what we're seeing in the marketplace is the pet's going right next to the anxiety, it's going right next to the pain, which is going right next to the tinctures, which are going right next to the protein bars. And that's really the best practices in the industry.
Okay, so not, because I see some retailers putting everything together in one, and then I see others, grouping them together.
Yeah.
So what are the pros and cons of each?
Well, the pros and cons is giving them a destination. I mean, at this point in time, there's very little brand loyalty, or even brand awareness at this point. So giving them some tools in terms of shopper marketing and education, having them live in one spot, it's the way to go. Now,
is this across categories too?
Yes.
So you'll have pet and you'll have food, gummies and
you need to have a hemp health zone. Markethub has created the hemp health zone, which is an educational platform, but it also helps them give the consumer a destination to go in the store, which obviously with different marketing vehicles, you can actually support that and give your customer a place to go. That's really where it's at. And I mean, pet's gonna be huge. But honestly, they're going to want to see that these different forms and different products exist in one particular spot. Oh, I didn't know there was a pet tincture.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know there was this. And so that's really...
What challenges are retailers facing in actually creating that zone?
So space is a premium. We develop custom displays where necessary. I mean, space is the big one.
So what would you recommend, let's say, for retailers not going to dedicate an end cap, or significant space, if they only have a certain amount of linear feet, what would you recommend for different sizes?
I would say a freestanding fixture. Our standard kind of freestanding fixture is about 22 inches wide, 24 inches deep. It's got 7 shelves. It's fully merchandised, and also fully marketed around like the educational pieces that can go on there.
Gotcha. And the image that you showed me.
Yeah.
Right, and we're going to put it up on the screen. What is that image?
So that's an end cap that we have developed that just brings some attention to the category. I mean, ultimately, consumers are going to find it, but what can we do to move the needle? We don't have any interest in putting products on there just to collect dust.
Yeah.
We've got to make it interesting. And a lot of that's going to be education-based. So we give them not only a spot to go, but a place to find education online. So we developed the Hemp Health Zone, which is a completely brand agnostic, consumer-facing educational platform. How do you take a tincture? What's the difference between CBD and hemp extract? So all those items can actually be marketed and merchandised there at shelf.
Gotcha. So all of that information is at the shelf because education is as you know, is really important. Both educating the staff,
Yeah.
as well as educating the end consumer.
We've called it the convergence of education and access, and that happens twice. It happens once at the retailer level or the associates, and then it happens again to the consumer.
Okay, what are some no-nos?
You know, you better be careful in terms of what you're putting on your shelf. I mean, you know, the new consumer reports are consumers.
Yeah.
So they're going to start telling those stories. So the no-nos are really, I mean, I think that putting things in line and hiding the product is certainly a detriment to the category. But also cross-contamination of just putting hemp seed oil products or just hemp named products next to CBD is really going to be a no-no.
That sounds like it could confuse the
Absolutely. They wonder, why doesn't this work? And so this is something that we've seen in the past, and really it could be a category killer for retail because they're going to lose the trust of the consumer.
Gotcha. All right, now what about on the buying side? You know, you have, so in a lot of these cases, you'll have all of these buyers buying these different categories that are sitting together.
Yeah.
It's almost like the front end. You could have some issues with fighting over that. How are you guys working with retailers on that?
Well, when I was at Time Warner, we did the first front end focus, so I'm pretty familiar with that front end space. You know, looking at the category and helping buyers make quality decisions, even where they're siloed, right? Like, so you got the beauty buyer, and then you got the pain buyer, and so working together, I think, is the best practice in terms of like how we apprehend the category.
Okay, so any key takeaways, anything that we haven't covered that you want to add?
I think just to know that this is serious and the consumers are looking at this, and everything as far as consumer interest is outpacing every other piece of the category. Regulation, branding, everything. How do we then speak to the consumer to make them feel at ease in the category? And part of that's the buying decision.
Gotcha. All right. Well, what is your website for people who are looking to?
Markethub.com.
Okay.
So everything we do is customized for every retailer. We carry over 35 brands, over 500 products, so we can develop customized assortments for just about every retail channel.
Okay.
And they can find out a lot about our company there.
Excellent. Well, thanks a lot for joining us.
My pleasure.
All right.